Welcome, everyone, to today's Quantum Marketplace. We're very excited to be presenting several of the QED-C members who are working in the space around developing the workforce of the future, the quantum-ready workforce. It's an important area that QED-C members across the board recognize as critical to the success of their companies and of the emerging field and industry overall. So I don't want to take time away from the outstanding presentations that we have today, but I do want to note that the need for talent really spans well beyond the quantum industry itself, because at the end of the day, quantum is going to be impacting almost every field and every sector. And so over time, the demand is going to just continue to grow and expand. And the number of people, the types of skills that they're going to need is going to broaden, year by year. So we're very excited to have several members here at QED-C that we'll be hearing from today who are working to fill this gap. So with that, I will turn it over to Mark Wippich, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Celia. So as a reminder, in terms of the format, everyone will be muted except the speakers. Send the questions in. There's a Q&A chat window you can put your questions into. If there's a time permitting and there's a very interesting question, we'll work to put that in the roundtable discussion at the end. Also, the recording of this webinar will be posted in the future on YouTube. Okay, so in terms of our agenda, we're going to go a quick update on the quantum marketplace, and then also quick snapshot of some overview and trends in bolstering talent for quantum, as well as we have a very exciting lineup today, as Celia mentioned. Then we're going to get into a roundtable panel discussion and then upcoming webinar schedule. For those of you who are not aware, the QED-C has a quantum marketplace directory of all the companies in the membership. You can go there to the QED-C website, and there's a Quantum Marketplace tab. You can go in, click on a company, and have there's a description there of what each company is offering in the marketplace. And if there's a pink icon next to it, that means they've already presented in the Quantum Marketplace as well. They're highlighting any videos that we would have on that company posted there. Also, we have a YouTube channel. If you haven't checked that out, please do. You can get there by going to YouTube/Quantum Marketplace, or going into Google and typing Quantum Marketplace, and it populates the first page. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so what's been very curious about the Quantum Marketplace is it's for companies presenting. The feedback has been overwhelming that it's consistently raising brand awareness, and it's also facilitating and collaboration of deals and partnerships of member companies, both with each other and then with member companies, with companies outside of the QED-C. Okay, with that, we're going to get into the overview and some trends that we see. So, sort of a review here, and I think this applies perfectly here, is, quantum was really, Quantum 1.0 was a revolution about 100 years ago, which really highlighted quantized energy levels. And that really led to the computer age and now the information age. And so what that's doing, though, is with Quantum 2.0, which is happening now, this has expanded to, wave and particle duality, entanglement, inherent uncertainty, quantum teleportation, collapse of wave function. So some very sophisticated quantum concepts. So where do we see these going in terms of markets? Well, we see areas of quantum sensing, quantum networking, and in quantum computing. This is a curious survey. This is online and publicly available. I highlighted some data from Zapata, one of the quantum computing software companies. They did a survey of 300 leaders at large global enterprises. And one of the pieces of data that they had put together is, why are these companies motivated and working in the space, and how much are they motivated by workforce development, bolstering talent? And most advanced quantum computing adopters, they have an 85% motivation to invest in this space. I thought that was a very high number. So here's the question: where will all this talent come from? Because the talent from 1.0 quantum and the talent from 2.0 is a little bit different, right? So with all that, we're going to get into the lineup today. We have a very exciting lineup. We have Chris Bishop from Improvising Careers, who's a podcaster, a TEDx speaker, and various other areas of expertise. We have Elena from QunaSys, who provides a learning system in quantum computing. We have Katerina from qplaylearn. We have Alan Quaxys, and we have Alex from ColdQuanta, and we have Connor from Quantum Futures, which is curious as Connor's company actually is a recruiting firm that works to hire talent for quantum computing companies. So with that, Chris, I'm going to ask you to go first.
As Mark mentioned, my name's Christopher Bishop. I have a small boutique consulting firm focused on future careers called Improvising Careers. I'm a member of the QED-C Workforce Technology Advisory Committee. I run something called Office Hours, which is a monthly meetup where we connect students studying quantum information science with mentors in the private sector. And I'm also the host of the Quantum Tech Pod. We've just released our 33rd episode yesterday. It was a roundtable discussion with Worley, Ilana Wisby, and Morgan Politan talking about how to do due diligence on a quantum company. So just to echo what Celia was saying at the beginning, here's a quote from Dr. Robert Suter. He's a former IBMer who has been a quantum advocate for many years. He's currently a vice president of corporate development at ColdQuanta. He says, many industries are currently working with quantum computing, including banking, capital markets, insurance, automotive, aerospace, and energy. In years to come, the breadth and depth of the industries leveraging quantum will continue to grow. The implication is they're going to need talent. They're going to need smart people like the people in this webinar to help them achieve their business goals, right? How can you contribute? Let's talk a little bit about it. So this is kind of the money slide, if you will. I call this the evolving quantum workforce ecosystem. So while there's certainly scientists and researchers at the center of it, you're going to need a whole coterie of adjacent disciplines and skills to drive understanding and ultimately adoption of quantum information science, right, in the real world, if you will. So certainly executives, C-suite to run the business, startup founders to put together companies. Starting on the upper right, someone's got to sell this into a client, right? Business development. Whether you're a big company like IBM or a comparatively smaller company like ColdQuanta, everybody needs to demonstrate value to generate, attributable revenue, right? UX design, how do humans interact with this stuff? As these boxes evolve, we've got to figure out how people, touch them. Human-computer interface questions. These are some companies dealing with that issue. The profession that enables all other professions, education, opportunities to teach about quantum. Regulatory and policy issues. Someone's got to determine, how we manage this. We have to wear seatbelts. Nuclear policy is regulated. So there's going to be issues around these kind of topics for quantum as well. The bottom one here I call kind of the picks and shovels, if you will, optics, wiring, photonics. Companies like Montana Instruments, Investment, developing lasers and workbenches and metrology equipment. And then on the left, comms and PR. You could write for a magazine about quantum. You've got to make this understandable and comprehensible for the comparative lay person. And then marketing and branding. These companies have to find a way to bring the message to market in a way that is understandable and, again, translates to business value for customers. And then investing and consulting. So I'm sure many of you know Will Zhang, who's the head of quantum research at Goldman Sachs. Their question from their clients is there a pony in here? Where should we be investing? What's the opportunity to enhance my portfolio? And then strategy consulting, management consultants, McKinsey and their clients, they want to know, how does this affect long-term business strategy, 5-year plans? So again, the implication is lots of roles for people, students, talent, people on this call or webinar to participate and contribute in the quantum workforce. Just a point in time view of some of the organizations reflecting, the previous slide. The range is broad. This is just a snapshot of the landscape. It's by no means comprehensive, but as you can see, it ranges across enabling technologies, applications and consulting, chemicals, materials, and biotech. If you have a particular interest in a specific vertical or focus area, needless to say, there's lots of opportunity. I'm going to share with you some real world examples of what's happening out there, where the hiring recs are, right? So this is AWS Quantum. They have 6 categories ranging from research to supply chain, transportation management, 62 open jobs in quantum. Again, this is all on their website, right? Talk about continuum. So while they're certainly looking for a lead physicist, they're also looking for someone to be a senior accounting specialist. Again, back to my earlier point, right? A range of skills needed to drive this model forward. How about Rigetti? This is one of my favorites. So they're certainly looking for a lead software engineer, quantum device design and fabrication, but they're also doing what they call open rec for future open position. And the language behind this is, we don't know what this job will be, but we're trying to recruit smart, talented people who are interested in this space so that we can collect your resume and keep it on file. So if and when the business shifts, or we establish a new partnership, or new regulatory guidelines come into place, or we get another round of funding, the business expands, we have people on file that we can reach for. We have a bench, right? So I've never seen anything like that. I worked at IBM for 15 years, by the way, and this is kind of remarkable to see something like this out in the workplace. So again, unabashed plug for my podcast. It's called the Quantum Tech Pod. You can subscribe if you have an RS feed burner tool that you like. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The office hours sessions that I mentioned, we'll be doing the next one on August 25th. So if you'd like to participate, sign up, send a note to office hours at quantumconsortium.org with a preferred time. We run it from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And thank you for your time. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me an email, Chris@Improvising Careers, and I'll see you in the quantum enabled future. Thanks for your time.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you so much, QED-C, for inviting me to be here. So I'm Elena Indurain. I work for QunaSys, in charge of international expansion. So QunaSys is a Tokyo-based quantum computing software company. We're specialized in the chemistry field. And in the offering, we have 7 topics. So we work with companies to develop use cases. We also do government subsidized projects to boost quantum innovation and quantum technologies. We co-host events together with other companies in the industry to maximize outreach of quantum computing. We have open source content in which we have simulators to test quantum algorithms, also to benchmark the performance of the algorithms. We have a consortium of industry companies focused in chemistry that work together to boost and learn quantum. We have a software development tool that's called QED-C to develop use cases and algorithms for quantum chemistry. It's available on the cloud. And we have a training program that's for STEM and for business profiles. And I'll go a bit more in detail about the training part. So in terms of training, we've trained already more than 50 companies in the chemistry field. We had 170 global students joining a challenge we had at QPark. The challenge was to improve the algorithms, the foundational algorithms of quantum, and also the chemistry algorithms. Our software, QED-C, has had more than 3.3 million calls for testing algorithms. So to test how an algorithm is translated from a classical format to a quantum format and simulate its performance and benchmark it. More than 60 companies have used it to learn. We have 6 ready-to-use chemistry examples that we use in the training. So these are real chemistry examples that computational chemists use. And then we have in our trainings, we mix both academia with industry, because we believe that to learn quantum and to be able to work in quantum, to get ready to retrain yourself if you're in the workforce, or if you're a student at the university, to gain the skills to be employable, you need to have the double vision. So we have university professors, and we also have researchers that are the instructors of our training. And so far we trained more than 150 employees to upskill their knowledge. So the training we made it very modular and available for anyone, because we know that there are different people are different paths in their career to learn quantum. So we have a generalist type of knowledge that's more about the foundation. So we help students acquire the quantum foundations with the introduction to quantum, all the knowledge they need to know and the state of the art. We also have quantum for chemistry, so an overview of how to use quantum for chemistry, and with all the limitations of the existing chemical calculations, the skills you need to upgrade and to be able to understand quantum, so physics, algebra, chemistry. And then we have a use case discussion in which we analyze what are the use cases for quantum and how do I prioritize them, and then how do I build a roadmap. And then finally, if you want to develop, we have a developer training, which we start with a use case to see real examples of use case, but then we deep dive into the coding. The coding is done for with a simulator, open source simulator, and with our development tool, Kami, and because it has ready to use real use case chemistry simulations. So this, of course, if you're interested and you want to go the whole thing, we have this intensive 5-day course in which you finish and you're ready to work in quantum because you acquire all the knowledge that you need, right? If you're interested, we have a course upcoming at the end of October. It's going to be in France, and actually you get a certification by the University of Strasbourg. You can take it either in person or online, and it's targeted to anyone who wants to learn quantum, and also computational chemists, physicists, anyone in STEM, and developers that want to learn how to code. And so just to finish here, the call to action. So if you want to get trained, there are 4 ways you can do it. You can either do an in-house tailored training that usually leads to a research development, or you can have a use case discussion to discover different use cases and then test them with the examples that we have ready to use. We can also have upskill training for workers, which is this example I gave you of the University of Strasbourg, or also if you join our consortium, QPark. And then finally, university, if you're in academia and you want to have a university training, we also have university-ready modules for students to give them the skills to be employable in quantum. So here's my contact information and then the link if you want to join the training.
So my name is Caterina Foti, and I'm representing qplaylearn. qplaylearn was born from a team of quantum physicists on a mission to teach the beauty of quantum science and inform about the impact of quantum technologies to everyone, regardless of their age and background. It's a joint project between Algorithmic, a startup developing quantum algorithms for the life sciences, and Institute Q, the Finnish Quantum Institute, to which Finland's leading universities, the University of Helsinki and Aalto University, belong. Now, when we say that qplaylearn is for everyone, we mean it. But with you, I'd like to focus more on our offer for companies and policymakers. So as you know, and as we are discussing today, quantum technologies are expected to profoundly affect several fields, from the life sciences to robotics, data storage and security, finance, potentially every field relying on computer power. And that's exactly why we are all here, because it takes more than quantum physicists to create a thriving quantum ecosystem, and it's time for a wider group of stakeholders to be involved. In order to help companies do so, at qplaylearn we develop self-contained courses to build familiarity and competence about quantum technologies without having to delve into mathematical technicalities. So let me start from this short video introducing the first step of our retraining and our approach.
A monumental shift in computing is approaching. Advances in quantum technology will provide enormous opportunities for businesses that are ready to ride the quantum wave. How can you prepare your organization for such a challenge? qplaylearn is an online learning platform specifically designed to provide multi-level education in quantum science and technology to people of all ages and backgrounds. qplaylearn's unique multimedia courses are focused on the learner's experience with interactive content that captivates the users, keeping them engaged and eager to learn more. With a user-friendly approach, even those who have never studied quantum physics will be able to learn complex concepts in a simple, straightforward manner with accurate information that never trivializes the subject. qplaylearn is excited to present Inspiration Quantum, an introductory course aimed at getting the learner acquainted with quantum science and technology, and specifically targeted to industry. Developed in collaboration with leading quantum physics researchers, Inspiration Quantum not only provides users a general understanding of quantum technology, it also illustrates its effect on business operations in various sectors. users will gain the ability to read news about quantum technology in the media with a critical eye, distinguishing inaccuracies and hype from good, factual information. qplaylearn is available on your PC, tablet, or smartphone. No matter the user's background or learning style, qplaylearn will keep your employees on the cutting edge. Head to qplaylearn.com to learn more, or email us at contact@qplaylearn.com. qplaylearn, preparing you for what's next.
So Inspiration Quantum has been developed primarily for executives and policymakers, but it's actually ideal for anyone at the beginning of their quantum journey. In fact, it's the first step of our retraining program and is freely available, so free of charge on request. Currently, under the final review, we then have Quantum Computing the Soft Way, an introductory course to quantum computing aimed at employees. And then a little spoiler for what is to come. This is a course for a more specific group of stakeholders, closer to what algorithmic is about. It's quantum computing for life sciences that will be released in 2 versions, one for executives and one more practical for employees. But let me conclude by saying that qplaylearn is much more than an e-learning platform for workforce retraining. We have a lot of free resources to learn about quantum science and technologies in a playful, accessible, and of course, accurate manner. So as well as inviting you to have a look at it, if you wish so, why might this be relevant to you? Because we build connections. And I think this is really one of the main strengths of qplaylearn. And with this, I finish. Please don't hesitate to contact us if you're curious to know more, and thanks for your attention.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alan Solari. I am the CEO and founder of Quaxys. Let me tell you a quick story. I am an RF engineer and an experimental physicist. I worked in various companies on a broad spectrum of technologies, ranging from radar and satellite communication systems to topological devices and superconducting qubits. On many occasions, I was responsible for training new hires. And I realized that the traditional training method has the following shortcomings. First, it prevents the trainer, which is most of the time a senior engineer, from doing his day-to-day duties. It's a long, unorganized process where many critical skills necessary for the job are not taught. And it needs to be repeated for each new hire. But why most hardware companies do not automate the hardware training process? The reason is clear: hardware is hard. While it is much easier to automate the training for software engineers, it is very challenging to train the hardware workforce. And the reason is that it needs hands-on experience and involves many complicated multidisciplinary concepts in engineering and physics. Quaxys Academy is the first quantum hardware training program designed to solve the skill gap for quantum companies. Our focus is on semiconductor quantum hardware, especially the superconducting qubit. At Quaxys, we teach the essential practical skills to shorten training and onboarding time, allowing new hires to add value earlier. We offer self-paced, hands-on modular courses for individuals and teams. And all courses are IEEE certified with continuing education units and professional development hours. Quaxys courses also cover all the necessary practical skills for a quantum hardware engineer in 4 areas: RF and microwave engineering, cryogenic engineering, measurement techniques, and nanofabrication. Our courses offer unique resources such as online tools, technical articles, and outstanding support. We use various online tools. For example, here you see the online calculator for designing a transplant qubit. And we also use interactive methods for training. For example, you see a live measurement using a network analyzer. We are looking to collaborate with hardware companies to develop customized courses based on their needs and train their current and future workforce. For individuals, we provide a path to full quantum competence with our comprehensive quantum hardware training curriculum. Thanks for your attention, and here's the QR code if you want to join our LinkedIn page.
So hi everyone, I'm Alex Tingle. I'm the product manager for ColdQuanta's cloud accessible quantum dynamics platform known as Albert. ColdQuanta spans contract research, private investment, partnerships, and commercial products and services. The technology is pretty broad. So I'm actually going to focus in on quantum dynamics, as this is where Albert lives. This is kind of a cheeky name for this segment, given that quantum dynamics affects everything in quantum technology. Really, I'm focusing on the dynamics part. This is where Albert lives. So if you are interested in cold atom quantum technology, you start with, you guessed it, cold atoms. Now, depending on what you do with these cold atoms is going to be different if you're building a clock or a computer or an Albert. And as I mentioned, Albert is a cloud accessible quantum platform, but it is not a quantum computer. While my colleagues in computing will use these cold atoms as qubits, Albert does something a little bit different. Albert actually takes these cold atoms even colder to just a hair above absolute zero. And at these temperatures, the atoms actually become a completely different state of matter, quantum matter, known as Bose-Einstein condensate or BEC. Then you can poke it, you can prod it, you can manipulate it, shape it, and image it. And we do that not because we are mean and hate atoms, but because we're curious as to what actually happens to the entire quantum matter state when you do this. So that's where the dynamics part comes in, is we want to know not just what happens to one or two atoms, but thousands or tens of thousands of atoms all at once. So this all happens in our lab in Boulder, Colorado. Here's our wonderful quantum engineer, Hannah Norse, pretending to adjust a wave plate for the Denver Post. Everything I just mentioned actually happens kind of hidden behind her on this other optics table. This is where we create and play with Bose-Einstein condensate. Now, I hope you can tell from this picture that this is not a trivial hardware setup. It takes a lot of time, money, and a very specific type of expertise to get going. Actually, the first time BEC was made in a lab about 25 years ago, it won those researchers the Nobel Prize. Now you can access this hardware and our expertise over the cloud. I want to drive home here, though, that Albert is not a simulator. Working with Albert is actually accessing the hardware in our lab in Boulder. So when you run jobs, when you are setting things up for your BEC, you are actually creating that and manipulating that here right behind Hannah. Now, we wanted to put this on the cloud, not just because that's the cool thing to do these days, but it also addresses some of the more painful barriers of entry to the quantum space. If you don't have to build a system like Albert, you shouldn't have to build a system like Albert. Now, depending on what type of quantum solution peak you're trying to summit, you can consider Albert a chairlift to the top. And whatever peak you're trying to summit, it might look a little bit different depending on your goals. If you are interested in developing quantum inertial sensors for navigation, Albert's going to look like a prototyping platform. If you are a research scientist interested in pushing the bounds of mankind's understanding of quantum mechanics and publishing about it, Albert is going to look like a research lab on the cloud. And most pertinent to our talk here today, Albert is a hands-on tool for quantum education and workforce development. Now, Albert's super simple to use. I joke that it's quantum at the push of a button. I must admit that sometimes it can take up to 4 or 5 mouse clicks to be creating this Nobel Prize-worthy Bose-Einstein condensate. And what you can actually do, how much of the hardware you can access, and what that hardware can do is going to be expanding over the coming months and quarters. We're also developing a suite of educational resources to help give our users a better idea of what they're doing when they're working with Albert, as well as giving them a better picture of what Albert can do for them. Which brings me to why I'm here today, other than just my job entails being excited and evangelizing the world to Albert. Myself and my team are interested in talking to instructors and trainers and management who are looking to enrich their quantum education and quantum literacy in both their classrooms and their internal workforces. We'd also love to talk to any quantum experts and enthusiasts who are interested in co-developing some quantum education modules, as well as industry and academic partners who are already doing the hard work to make quantum and the quantum workforce more accessible, I think, like my co-panelists. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, here's how you can reach out to me and the team, and you can sign up for Albert in our free beta phase today. Thank you.
My name is Colin Teague. I'm president here at Quantum Futures. We're a global leading quantum computing talent partner that helps quantum companies around the globe grow through the acquisition of talent, improving candidate experience, and retaining your workforce, which gets overlooked. Our mission is simple. We want to help companies grow, scale, and identify undiscovered talent in the market, whilst also amplifying your brand. So we solve your biggest recruitment problem by creating partnerships that are flexible by design. So we know that every client has the same needs and plans can change over time. So well, especially in this economy anyway. So we design that flexible partnership to kind of identify what talent you need right now. And hiring doesn't need to be a headache. Our team is ready to go with instant access to the best quantum talent in over 12 countries. The roles we specialize recruiting for, here are 3 main areas, and we have teams which specialize in each. I've not gone into job titles here because I know a lot of internal job titles can mean different things wherever you are. Like for instance, within a software application side, algorithms, you may have someone with a job title of quantum application engineer. But this can give you a little bit of a flavor of the full stack that we operate across. I know cryptography bolsters onto quantum computing, but I just wanted to include that, as I know a few people listening to the audience here are from the cryptography QED space, and we have a few clients around this as well. The center of talent, and Chris Bishop had his ecosystem, and that really complemented where we're seeing the direction of where talent is coming from, but also the maturity, as mentioned, the brand marketing, the accounting, the business development, sales. We're now seeing this adoption of these roles within our clients, and it just goes to show how the market is changing. And it's great that we're able to use these areas to kind of really resonate with our clients. So we talk with our government entities, our venture capitalists, partner with those guys to kind of help our startups to grow their talent right from the ground. So it's great that we're able to kind of sit right in the middle of all of this. The problems we see, we identified 3 main areas here: acquisition, journey and experience, and retention. So of course, acquisition is looking at the identifying of talent, the interview process, the onboarding, the training. Like as an example, I don't know how many people right now have a program set in place for a career roadmap for any new hires, or maybe how your acquisition team are talking to your HR department. So this is where, as recruiters specializing in this area, we can really add value by understanding that process and having communication with all departments. Journey and experience. This is massively overlooked here. We should imagine the candidate's perspective. A lot of people in this industry were very fortunate to kind of be at the uni where the company was coming out of their lab and had a natural direction, of course, into that business. But now businesses are starting to mature and grow. We should be looking at how we can diversify our workforce. Denise Ruffner at Atom, who heads up Women in Quantum, doing some fantastic pieces right now. They're actually supporting a female from a HSBU this summer doing an internship at Oxford University, which is super exciting. So please do reach out to me and to discuss more on D&I, kind of improvement in your company. But yeah, back to that actually has a huge impact on attracting non-quantum talent to your business. Like, people talk in the industry where it's incredibly niche. People after coming out of your interview process, if they felt it wasn't structured quite well or felt kind of intimidated by people conducting interviews, don't be that company that has a rubbish process. So yeah, it's vital on that side. Retention. Employee retention and engagement starts at the leadership level. Invest in employee growth opportunities. Go deep with exit interviews. We really want to understand why that person has left and what the company can do for the next hire. Like you're not going if you're just replacing. How we can help your business. These are just 8 areas of where we are currently helping our clients, and kind of point out the candidate and referrals into our network. 55% of the people that we're placing, they're not on LinkedIn. They're not out to your competition. These are the relationships that we've built over the last few years that's helped us have such a high stat of the people we are being referred into, which I think it's a fantastic number there. But again, you can see the areas here which we help our clients with. So if you are hiring, please do feel free to reach out or need advice on your candidate experience, interview process, salary benchmarking. Yeah, my details are here. Please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or email. More than happy to have a chat and talk through your growth plans, what you're building.
Okay, so let's get into the panel discussion. So especially for the learning platforms, you know, I think a question that's most likely very relevant to the audience is, you know, and let's start with Elena, you know, how do your users access your platform today, and what does that look like?
Well, the training platform, we have 2 types of training platforms. One is an open source training, self-training content that you can access through our website. And then the other is this training that I talked about today. And this one can be accessed either by fixed trainings that we have all year long, or if you join, for example, our consortium QPark, you can do the training courses that we have along the year. And then, of course, you can get a tailored training as part of a use case development project. If you're interested in researching, the first step is obviously getting trained to level up everyone.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 ways.
Great, thank you. Alan.
Yeah, so currently people can access our courses online, and then we have combination of videos and tools, all are online, but we're planning to add on-site training in the near future.
Okay, great. And then Alex.
So Albert is accessible through, I dropped the link, but currently users use it, customers use it as an easy to use web UI. So if they don't want to just run the easy default programs, they can literally pull sliders and adjust parameters. What we'll be introducing soon is a desktop client to allow more programmatic control through Python. So that'll be for some of the more hardcore research folks. So if they want to just submit a bunch of jobs at once and get all their data and do what they want, and not people like me and my dad who just want to see the cool pictures and know they did a cool thing.
Great. And then Chris, I think you dropped your link in the chat. You know, are you looking for new people to join your podcast? You want to comment on this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been lucky to be able to connect with C-suite execs at quantum companies. So people on the call, or certainly I'm going to be reaching for speakers here in this webinar about joining me. Encourage you to take a listen. I think there's some interesting conversations I've had so far. Again, there are 33 episodes. I just did one yesterday with Steve Brearley, CEO of Riverlane. Really interesting conversation. You know, they're developing what they're calling a quantum operating system, sort of a level of abstraction that allows them to manipulate qubits, capture data, and monitor and manage it regardless of qubits, so a qubit agnostic operating system solution. So that'll probably be out next week with any luck. We issue them every couple of weeks.
Great. And then Yeah. And then Connor, how does someone engage your company and your platform?
The engagement piece mostly through our website, email, LinkedIn. But if anyone here is kind of wanting to kind of partner up in terms of that training piece, for us to be an advocate to provide candidates who we speak to daily, and into, I guess, with our hardware side, Quaxys would be a fantastic one to upskill themselves there. And of course, with the likes of ColdQuanta as well, or being able to kind of access the beta version of Albert would be interesting. Yeah, we're more than happy to open up those discussions and have that pipeline of talent that we speak to daily. As I said, there's 16 of us here. We speak to multiple people around the world every day, which is, it does add up. A lot of people coming in through our network.
Yeah. Actually, we're going to talk about partnering in the future, even between the companies presenting today, because I think there's a lot of potentiality there. Katerina, how does someone engage with your platform today?
Yes, so thanks, Mark. Thanks, the QED-C Consortium. I take the chance now to thank everyone. It depends in the sense that to enroll to Inspiration Quantum, which is the first step of our training program, it's sufficient to send us an email at contact@qplaylearn.com or contact us through the contact form that you find on our website, qplaylearn.com. And that is free of charge on request. So with the mail, you get the enroll link on our learning platform. For the other courses, you need first to contact us, and then we need to speak and understand the needs of the company and then proceed with the training program. But I'd like to re-mention that on qplaylearn.com, there are many free resources targeting different audiences and adaptable to multi-level education that goes from like video games to all the way down to formalism. So those are free of open source, so you can directly find them on qplaylearn.com.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Elena, what's the accessibility, right? So with your learning platform, it was originally, you started off in Japanese, right? Because it's a Japanese company, but you're now doing the training in Strasbourg in October. That's in English, right?
Yes, so we started in Japanese. So the training was originally created for QPark, the Consortium of Industries, but we have translated it and adapted it to English. We've already done in-house trainings in Europe in English, and now we have this university, training that's for the industry in October with University of Strasbourg, fully in English. So yes, we're translating everything, and it's accessible either both for students, university students, and workers like us, right? Employees that want to upgrade their skills and to be able to work in quantum. So they this for both profiles, and
yeah, so this covers,
you can take it there.
So your platform covers university students looking to get a career in quantum in the commercial space out of academia. It covers people inside companies today, and it also covers workforce, and then it also covers workforce that may be in other areas that want to learn how to get into quantum.
To learn. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. So it's targeted not only for those that are actually quantum experts, like chemists or physicists, but also those that come from other engineering fields that don't know quantum and want to learn.
Excellent. Okay, Katerina, can you comment on this as well? Languages that your platform is in, which areas of workforce and students you target?
Sure. So at the moment, all our contents are in English. We are planning some translations, probably, again, speaking of some spoilers, the first languages will be Italian and Finnish.
I see.
And we have contents for different target groups. Inspiration Quantum has been primarily developed for executives and policymakers. Inspiration Quantum is this first step of our training program, freely available. But actually, I think as a starting point is good for everyone in the sense that no previous knowledge is required at all of the field.
Great.
And other contents, so Quantum Computing the Soft Way, which is the introductory course to quantum computing, is more adapted for employees, so for retraining, actual retraining. It's an introductory course, so you don't need that much feedback in order to enroll in this course, and it develops also. I would say that university students from like willing and eager to learn about this topic can actually do it. Of course, if your background is not super like mathematical skilled, you need a bit of training, but not that much. And so don't be scared. I encourage everyone to try. Quantum physics can be super funny. And then, yeah,
Great.
quantum
Thank you.
life sciences will be more for this specific audience. So I would say life science students. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then Alan.
So our focus is mostly on practical skills. So we cover a range of courses from like core measurement skills with, for example, network analyzer, spectrum analyzer, things like how to prevent damage to expensive instruments, up to like very advanced courses in cryogenic and room temperature setup for superconducting qubits, nanofabrication, and cryogenic techniques. So we combine videos and different types of online tools and interactive tools. So and we target fresh graduates, new hires, PhD, postdocs at all levels, and also technicians, because there are lots of jobs where people do not need to have deep understanding of quantum mechanics or quantum computing, but they need to have the necessary engineering skills, like RF engineers. And then we also focus on those people.
Okay, great. Great. Alex.
So Albert's currently written, I think, in a combination of English and physicist. Really, we are in English currently. I make that joke though because I think the platform is currently targeted for maybe an upper division physics student, and so we are developing a lot of content. That's why we're interested in working with other people to both make that more approachable for people who are newer to the field, and also to build that understanding better. And at the same time, we want to open up more of the hardware and dive in deeper with the, like I mentioned, the desktop client for the more hardcore physicists and chemists that are interested in really putting it through its paces. Albert has already been used in a handful of university, both in a workshop setting as well as a laboratory class. So we've already had some success with that.
Okay, great. And then Connor, with the talent that you're recruiting for your clients, are those people straight out of the university? Are they quantum physicists working in other companies? How does that work? When should people reach out to you? How does that work?
Good question. So we talk with people who are still finishing their PhDs until 2023. So we're building up pools of talent already in preparation for next year for our clients. So there's no point of pushing the button when the projects need to be done. Let's get prepared, and we can bench talent already who are coming out of university as we're starting to see more and more programs at uni which are tailored for more quantum computing businesses. So that's what we're doing with the kind of university students there as well. And we're also advising people who are coming through to their bachelor's and their master's of what PhDs they should be doing and who they should be talking with in terms of building up their own brand in a way on LinkedIn and connecting with people. Perfect example right here on the QED-C, being involved in coming to these webinars as well, connecting with people in the audience. Workforce coming, yeah, we do get asked by our clients to take people out of other quantum computing companies. Of course, they already have the knowledge, the capabilities, the industry experience, where certain companies may not have the time to train these individuals. They need to hit the ground running to begin with. We tend to find these more on the senior side, of course, the more managerial experience coming in. So yeah, it's a good mix.
Okay, great. All right, so this is a very open-ended question. You know, with access to leading courses and training, as we're hearing about today, you know, some of you have probably, well, I know some of you have actually heard these kinds of questions before from your clients. But, you know, say you're a company and you want to get into quantum and you want to build a team, not necessarily build a quantum computer yourself, but start learning and start training your team so that you can, you know, access this type of technology. You know, Elena, with the companies that you worked with in Japan, what did this look like in terms of, you know, with access to your type of courses? You know, how long would it take for a company to start building a viable quantum team? And, you know, would they also have to hire some experts as well? What have you experienced?
Yeah, so our experience is that people, they join QPart, which is a membership for like 1 year. During the year, they get trained, and also more or less halfway through the year, like 6 months, they realize if they're ready to do a joint research project, then they do it usually together with the researchers at QunaSys. So usually it's best to team up with the experts and do that research together with them. And then, you know, I think they're ready to. It's a hard field, right? So to work on their own, it takes a couple of years. But to work together with an expert company, I would say it takes like half a year if you do the training, right? But you have to be constantly learning. So it's a training to get ready, and then this constant learning to continue. This also the stage of the technology, right?
Yep. Great, thank you. Katerina, have you entertained this question before?
Yes, and I would say that there isn't really a unique answer, in the sense that it really depends on which are the company's needs. Because as also Elena was mentioning, usually one way to proceed is to team up with quantum experts already. So for that, of course, the process is much faster, in the sense that people that need to make decisions can have a general retraining. So even without training internal quantum workforce. But then, of course, if instead you want to build in-house ability, that requires time. Because it's not just a matter of finding new talents, but I mean, it's also related to the new mindset that you need in order to not only solve quantum answers and find quantum answers, but also to be able to understand correctly the problem and formulate the problem in a quantum framework, let's say.
Yeah. Anybody else want to address this question? I don't know if you all want to respond to it, but anybody else?
Well, so I would just say it depends on. And this is a great insight from the team, but certainly depends on, you know, what kind of courseware, what kind of training, and ultimately tied to the business model, right? So what are you trying to achieve? You know, and maybe an option is bringing in some brilliant trainers like the people on this call, you know, to do specific targeted orientation or training, or maybe it's, you know, finding an executive who is going to be a sponsor and putting together a skunk works, or, you know, giving an organization a budget and a couple of years of air cover, maybe from P&L, to build out a quantum, you know, unit or quantum team or whatever. And I think it's probably also an evolutionary thing. as both Katerina and Elena were saying, it's, you put the team in place, but then it's an ongoing process. It's not like they're done after 6 months, they're finished. It's, there's got to be protocols and processes for ongoing training, ongoing orientation, maybe even train the trainer programs. I don't know if that goes on at your clients. Do you see that, Katerina or Elena, where you get people up to speed and then they drive internal orientation and training?
Well, that's a good point. It's something useful, but what we see, at least for my case, is usually there's a limitation for dedication to quantum, right? So another thing that you're mentioning is how do you build your team? Well, one of the things that companies should do is give more time to fully be dedicated to quantum, because it does require 100% dedication, and sometimes people are doing this plus they're like this is like a side job, if you will, and that for this type of technology, it's not enough, right? That's why it's also taking a bit longer. But no, we haven't got the trainers yet. We have got a lot of people joining the training to get trained. So increasing, so maybe a small team joins the training, and then we have a lot of other people that join afterwards.
Yeah. Huh.
Great. Okay. So, I guess we just, maybe we can touch on this again, maybe with Elena. So to what degree are companies training in-house talent versus going outside? What have you experienced there?
So training the people they have, or versus hiring new ones, you're saying?
Yeah, right.
Well, I think they're doing both. In our case, since we work with chemistry, the chemist profiles are kind of easier to retrain because they already have a similar profile, right? So I think that bring new people would be for those fields that are not so similar to quantum physics, right? So we see a combination, but mostly retraining, and then so I would say 80%, 20%, 80% retraining and 20% hiring new ones.
I see. Thank you. So Connor, I'm very curious to hear what you have to say here. Are you only looking at bringing in new people, or is your company also getting involved with people in other parts of the organizations? How are you playing with that?
Yeah, so this comes down to the retention piece as well. If you've got someone in your team and then you're all of a sudden you're hiring a manager for them, have you looked at that person's skills for them to do that job? What training, managerial training, say for instance, do they need to be put on for them to do that job? Because all of a sudden, if you're bringing in new talent above them, but they've been in the business 2 to 3 years, that may not sit well with them. So we ask these questions first when we're taking on recs from our clients to really understand why they're hiring this person first, and like what challenges can they face internally that they may not have thought of already. So once we kind of like delve into that and uncover those challenges and go into a little bit more detail, then we'll start to assess, right, yeah, you may not have the experience for that individual just yet. Have a look at some of our profiles that we're working with and assess if they're going to be right. But first, have a look internally. Again, the retention side, the culture is important, and that training needs to be spot on from the beginning.
Yeah. With that point, Chris, you want to make your Peter Drucker quote about culture?
Well, it kind of ties back to some earlier conversations and slides we've had, but I always contend, again, based on being in the private sector for many years, that, and hopefully Connor will echo this, but the key certainly for attracting and ultimately retaining talent in any business, but certainly in the quantum space, is around culture, right? So no matter what you think the go-to-market is, or what the addressable opportunity is, or how you're going to solve the business problem, if the culture doesn't support it, meaning, the employees, the workers, the gig workers, the contractors, the strategic partners, people in the supply chain, you're going to struggle. So the quote that Mark is asking about is from Peter Drucker, the famous management consultant, executive leadership author and guru. And his contention is, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So we just leave you with that. Keep that in mind as you're, when you're looking for a job, right? That's the message is those of you who are in the marketplace, talent looking for a place to land, keep in mind that the culture is key, right? No matter how hip the go-to-market is or the technology, this is me waxing philosophic, so thank you for indulging me. But the idea is, if it feels right, then it is right. But if it doesn't feel right, look somewhere else.
Yeah, per Connor's point as well. Alan, I'm curious, in terms of the customers, I mean, you're getting started with your business right now. In terms of your customers, how do you see this playing out right now? How many companies are trying to retrain the talent they have versus going outside and getting new talent and getting them trained?
So, so most of many companies are not aware that they can somehow retrain RF and microwave engineers, because the closest field to semiconductor qubit quantum computing is microwave engineering. And then, so what you need there is to, so most of the times it's the problems that many companies have are pure engineering problems, and they do not need people with deep quantum physics understanding. So, so that's one thing. And then also companies need different levels of expertise. So they need full stack hardware engineer who's able to design quantum chips, who's able to do low temperature measurements, who's able to do data acquisition, who's able to do nanofabrication. And then they also need some more dedicated expertise, like only nanofabrication engineers or technicians. So, but from my experience, most of hardware companies focus on in-house training, because as mentioned before, for hardware training, you need to have hands-on experience. People need to touch instruments, people need to interact with instruments, but it takes time. So for hardware, it takes real time. And I believe that companies need to shift here, need to automate the hardware training process, need to use online courses, and then combine it with hands-on experience. Yep.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to start with Connor on this one. So what are companies doing to improve diversity hiring practices? Since companies are coming to you directly to hire, what are those conversations you're having?
Yeah, this is a key area which we really try to improve with our clients. We've set up certain practices now where companies are very open to say, look, we've not really looked in terms of a strategy here. So we begin by kind of introing them to third-party businesses who kind of come into their companies, kind of like D&I companies to train their workforce. One thing that we're a big advocate of is taking off the name, photo, and university from the CV and resume and sending that over to the client. That creates this really, really nice non-biased view when you are looking at that resume, because of course you naturally go to the name, university, photo. So we take that away from the client. That's been a really, really key area here to kind of help what we're trying to do. What we advise our clients on in terms of from more of an internal perspective, educate your leaders, form an inclusion council internally to kind of hold more effective meetings in that way, kind of get someone who wants to pioneer this group of people in your business. It comes down to listening to your employees, listen to what's going on, right? This all ties in nicely to what Chris was saying as well in that culture side to the company. Like businesses are only as good as the people who work for you. Yep.
So Chris, in your interviews with CEOs, are you discussing diversity with them? Have you learned anything there?
Yeah, I mean, as Connor said, it's an area of focus for sure. I think, more broadly than quantum, even across tech, trying to achieve, initial focus, I think, was more around gender parity. I mean, there's a famous quote by Bill Gates' wife about, trying to, tied to AI, trying to avoid, reproducing existing models and having the code only be written by white guys in hoodies. So that's going to limit our, our viability and the ability to advance and adopt this technology. So there are efforts underway. Sure, I'm a huge fan. I've interviewed several women on my podcast, but I think, again, we all are aware that this is an area of focus that needs more attention. And, I think it's important. So I would encourage people to help, drive this transformation because it's critical.
Yep. Elena, you want to comment on this?
With diversity. Well, I mean, I do think it's still well, there are fewer women, right, in this field, but we can see here in this panel there's a lot of us, right? So I think it's growing, and there are a lot of physicists and scientists that are women and are getting involved in quantum at a lot of fields. So I think it's improving.
Well, you work for a Japanese company.
I know, and I'm European and a woman.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we do have we do have women in QunaSys. It's true
Great.
that and actually in my team in Europe, the team that I'm building in Europe, there are more women than men.
Great. Awesome. Alex.
So ColdQuanta has founded, I think about a year ago, a DEI committee. So we're bringing in more.
What is DEI? What is DEI?
Great question. Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Awesome. Yeah.
So it's a committee made up of employees and just people passionate about not only improving things internally, but also bringing in external speakers and networking and providing resources for a more diverse community outside of our office. I feel very fortunate. ColdQuanta is pretty diverse, at least compared to engineering I had lived in before. So I think that it's an uphill battle, but I think even in my decade in the industry, and STEM has been a pretty great improvement. I think it just takes some hard conversations and some just that extra work.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Katerina, you want to comment on this?
Yes. So I'm lucky enough to work with wonderful quantum physicists, both men and women, both in academia and in algorithmic. But I would like to give a positive message that it's true that in this field we are less, because it's a fact, there are less women than men. And I think there is a lot of work to be done yet, but it's also true that we are building now the quantum ecosystem. So I think if these words are really meaningful for all of us involved, we can build the quantum ecosystem and the quantum workforce with an eye on these diversity issues and gender gap. So I hope that this new field will be a bit different in this sense.
Great. Alan.
So we have lots of smart students with different background, but since we are a small company and we don't do any quantum hardware directly, we're not being active in hiring. So, but we definitely have very smart students with different background.
Okay, great. All right, and so now for this next question, I want to go into a different area, because a lot of times the feedback that we're getting from these quantum marketplace webinars is many of the presenters are finding partnerships or deals, after presenting with each other, even though they already knew each other in some cases, right? So I'm just listening to all the presentations today, listening to all the Q&A, And I'm thinking already that some of you could potentially partner with each other. And of course, the audience could partner with seeing some of that in the chat. I want to start with Connor. You obviously don't have to go into too much detail here, but do you see any potential to partner with other presenters today?
100%. Yeah. Well, we already partner with Elena. Doing some really good work over the past few months, which has been fantastic to work with Elena, actually. Of more of a business development role, so that which is great news, just in terms of their expansion and again maturity in the market. Back to what I said before in terms of training programs, more than happy to put people that we're speaking with who are looking to upskill themselves in the market.
Yeah,
definitely kind of on that side as well. And of course, if you're struggling to hire, may not have best processes in place, want to access our talent and see what we can do to provide to help you grow, retain, improve your candidate experience, and yeah, please feel free to reach out.
okay, great. Alex, do you see yourself partnering with anybody presenting today?
Yeah, absolutely. As Albert is I think a complementary and not necessarily a competitive technology to quantum computing, I would hope that we would be a great addition to anybody's toolkits, training toolkits, just to help, especially for people helping people enter the quantum workforce to get a more diverse view of what the quantum ecosystem really looks like.
Okay, great. Alan.
Yeah, definitely. So I see an opportunity to partner with software training companies. So hardware and software, they're complementary, and then we will be able to offer a complete range of skills that quantum computing companies need.
Yeah, great. Katerina.
Yes, same line. I think there are several partnership opportunities and synergies opportunity here.
Okay, great. Elena.
Yeah, I think we can, already partner obviously with Connor for recruiting. I think we could also partner with the hardware piece of QuantumQuanta, also with the other trainers with algorithmic, right? Maybe to expand and to increase the outreach of the trainings. So I think we could basically partner with anyone in this panel. At the end of the day, we all share the same goal, right? To train the workforce, to get everyone ready for quantum.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Any last words, Chris Bishop?
I would just say, I recently did a podcast with, as I mentioned, 3 execs around due diligence on quantum companies, but this gives me an idea that maybe my next podcast, or one of them at some point in the future, would be a conversation with some of these distinguished guests around challenges facing quantum workforce. Could be a very cool model. This kind of group conversation for a podcast was
Absolutely
exciting.
Yeah.
I think it could be cool. So.
Yep, agreed. Okay, so with that, I think we're going to conclude this webinar. I just want to highlight that we are going to do cryo for quantum at the end of the month. We're going to have a number of dilution refrigerator manufacturers in the QED-C, as well as some others. It's going to be very exciting. Celia, do you have any closing remarks?
No, I think this has been a fantastic program today, and all these companies and others who we weren't able to include today, who will be in future programs, are really doing important work to help fill the gap, and really looking forward to participating and learning more from them, and to seeing many of you, I hope, at the next Quantum Marketplace at the end of the month. So thanks, Mark, and thanks to everyone who presented today.